Many men will make shitty widowers. Those who seem a little lost, they never know where anything is. My husband, Lester, was almost one of them. Left to his own devices, he would misplace phone and wallet. He'd store toothbrushes in the fridge, so he can basically forget about passports and property titles. Wildly competent at work. You can trust him with millions, just not the building ID. We've lost so many. Needless to say, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I wasn't sure he was gonna survive it. It's always harder for the family, we're told at the doctor's office. And sure enough, he looked so stricken that my oncologist actually gave him a card of encouragement with cute little bears on it, not me. Very good advice for a bad day. I was just 36, so the diagnosis was surprising, but I couldn't dwell on it for too long. The time between the doctor seeing the damning scans of my liver and my schedule in the OR was 1 week. I had 7 days to brief my adorably clueless husband on how life works. My concerns turned domestic immediately. Pay the bills in advance, fill the fridge and the pantry with something, hire a nanny for our son, then only 4 years old. And then I typed out a task list with designated appointees. Who gets to do the laundry? Who helps with homework? Who prepares the food? I tacked on this task list on the fridge. It was an accounting of my life as a stay-at-home mom, of the things that would be missed while, when, if I'm not around. Looking at the tasks all laid out in black and white, it struck me that all the things I do can be outsourced. That if our little family of 3 were to be right-sized, my husband and our son can get along and move forward with some paid help. My work is paid help. Of course, love, affection, blah, 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 that's important too, of course. But harder to itemize, account for, and while, when, if I'm gone, assign. But there's nothing to be done about that. Aside from the task list, I wrote out a kind of will, just in case. I wrote out a list of important contacts, insurance policies, details on assets and liabilities. And as an afterthought, I left some affectionate notes for my husband. Share that lovely heart of yours again if you find the chance. And one for our son. Jaime, never forget, your ideas have merit. But far shorter than the nagging administrative reminders, I felt the need to disclaim, I'm sorry, it's not a love letter, but it is a loving letter. Thing is, my husband never had the stomach to talk about death and disease, even when it was all theoretical. What more now? So, while the task list was prominently placed on the fridge, as a kind of mercy, this little letter I hid in a cabinet, and I just asked somebody to tell him where it was if things turned south for me. He stumbled into it, though. The guy who knows where nothing is finds the one thing I do not want him to find. It's still a mystery. So he comes up to me with a letter raised, almost accusing, worried that I wrote it because I wasn't feeling optimistic about my chances. I asked him, so dude, did you read it? And he says, it says, for emergency purposes only. Of course, I read it. Dramatics aside, the surgery unfolded as planned. The bad news, an 11-centimeter malignant tumor had gorged on my liver and gallbladder. The good news, I would survive it canonized by cancer. As soon as I was strong enough, I took all of my tasks back, except this time, all the outsourced tasks have been varnished by undeserved saintliness. No weeping, so brave. Laundry after surgery, what fortitude. And I'm just messing around with my son, but here comes my lovely husband. Let's film it so that we'd know even when things were hard, we could be happy. He even once said, I don't think we will ever fight again. It was my exact same life, but with cancer survivor halo. I didn't have the cinematic grace to carry on with that dignity for very long, though. It drove me crazy. Sometimes I would hold him, and I love my husband, and he's anxious, and I'm comforting him, and we love each other, and it's a moment. But all I could think of is sorting out the recyclables and doing the laundry. Sometimes I would look at him, and we're beside each other, but we're worlds apart. His intense worry is elusive to me. I'd look at him, and it's like looking past the fences to the neighbor's house through their window into somebody else's life. It's our doctor who finally pulls the plug on our Nicholas Sparks era. Treat her normal, he scolded Lester. But it's lust that finally divests me of my undeserved halo. The first time we made love after I recovered, his hands scrambled over my new scars, fear and worry warring with months repressed yearning. And he's saying, they said to treat you normal, they said to treat you normal. And what followed next is far from saintly.